I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, Canadians weigh in one day after the U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade.
I'm very glad that we are different here, but at the same time, you don't know what could happen. We're seeing the rise of the far right in this country.
We're on the ground for protests in Washington and Toronto, plus take a closer look at potential implications for Canada.
We've had a lot of people come out that will be celebrating Pride for the first time.
It's a big weekend for Pride, the queer community and allies coming together at today's Dyke March. Plus, we look ahead to tomorrow's parade.
We've raised $125,000 to date.
A Toronto lemonade stand with a super sweet twist. We'll hear from the families behind the fundraiser.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Hello, thanks for joining us. There is a lot of ground to cover tonight in reaction to that monumental reversal in the U.S., the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. Several states immediately moved to ban abortions as heated protests continue. That's where we begin tonight. Chris Glover has our top story. He's in Washington.
Not your uterus, not your choice.
Pro-choice demonstrators outside the Supreme Court incensed as anti-abortion supporters showed up.
I am sorry for the men who've abused you. You are loved.
And immediately shouted them down.
You're a white terrorist. Goodbye.
Today, protests in most U.S. cities. LA's was among the biggest, even though abortion will remain legal in California and access was expanded yesterday.
It's still hard here, even when you have the choice and the freedom. So if you don't have that choice and freedom, if you don't have the support that you need, I can't, it really does break my heart.
In total, roughly half the states are expected to ban abortion. 13 already had laws anticipating the decision. President Joe Biden committing again today to take what action he could.
My administration is going to focus on how they administer and whether or not they violate other laws, like deciding to not allow people to cross state lines to get public health services.
In Washington, many protesters say voting for pro-choice candidates in the November midterms is the best way to fight. Meanwhile, Republican Susan Collins is under fire today for delivering the crucial vote confirming Justice Brett Kavanaugh in 2018. Now the pro-choice senator is accused of being naive or complicit in helping stack the court's 6-3 conservative majority.
This is not a time to gloat.
Anti-abortion Texas Senator Brian Hughes says his state, where a ban on abortion kicks in within the month, will look for ways to support pregnant women.
And that's what we're doing in Texas in tangible ways.
Even though today's rallies condemning the court were bigger, there were anti-abortion celebrations as well, highlighting just how divided America is. Chris Glover, CBC News, Washington.
Well, the system allowing abortion rights is much different here in Canada, seen as part of healthcare. Some worry about possible ripple effects of what happens south of the border. Lorenda Redekop has that part of the story.
The huge coat hanger, a symbol of what illegal abortions can mean. This group always takes part in Toronto's Dyke March, but given the U.S. Supreme Court decision, this year feels different.
It's just terrifying, frankly.
Some of these women have been part of this movement for decades, ensuring abortions are available and safe.
We are different here, but at the same time, you don't know what could happen. We're seeing the rise of the far right in this country, and in every far right movement around the globe, opposition to abortion has been part and parcel of how they've organized.
While this is a march by lesbian, trans, and non-binary people, they say feminist issues are always tied to it. Here's how some attending Pride festivities reacted to the news.
A lot of poor people will not have health care anymore. That's a basic right.
They say when America sneezes, Canada catches a cold. So, we have to be making sure that we vote every election and to make sure that we maintain our rights.
I think we have to be worried everywhere. The States has been such a leader globally that what happens there has a trickle-down effect across the entire globe.
Given what happened in the U.S., it has some calling for Canada to enshrine abortion rights into law. Others say that's risky and not the way to go.
Strongly caution against any legislation around abortion in Canada. This is the right to bodily autonomy, and the risk to legislate is that you open up the space for a middle ground. Anytime you bring in a law, you have to negotiate that law with various political parties.
Some say a more pressing abortion issue in Canada is access. One registered nurse who does the procedure would like to see the drug prescribed by family doctors.
There's nothing to prevent them from doing so, and that would vastly expand our network of abortion providers.
Back at the march, this woman is from the U.S. and only moved here 2 years ago.
I think everyone is mad. That's about it. Right now is everyone's mad, everyone's rallying.
Now she wants to figure out how she can support them from here. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, so next we want to take you to the U.S. consulate in Toronto, where late this afternoon, hundreds of pro-choice supporters gathered as a show of solidarity. Meg Roberts is there for us now. Meg, you've been talking to people this afternoon. What are they saying?
Well, as you can see, a number of the protesters have since left the United States consulate downtown here. But, the feeling this afternoon was sadness and frustration from, hundreds of the pro-choice supporters. There also was a sense of camaraderie out here. A number of the protesters, speaking, saying that they're offering support and help to American women in whatever way possible. The protest was organized by the Ontario Federation of Labour, who says it's fearful the U.S.'s political landscape could impact the reproductive rights of Canadians, while also pointing out the barriers to accessing abortions in Canada. For example, people living in rural communities and low-income situations. For some of the women out here this afternoon, the protest was also personal, sharing their own abortion stories.
I was super fortunate to be able to access an abortion service provider when I needed it. There was no restrictions. It was super easy and it was fully funded. And if that's the right decision for anyone else, I want them to be able to be fully, completely, and capable of making it.
And I think we need to really focus on the fact that the people who are harmed the most by abortion bans are the ones who are already very vulnerable and suffering.
We have a small group of people running our cities, running our province, and running this country, and it's the exact same thing that's happening in the United States. It's a small group of people dictating how women and what women should do with their bodies, and it's really taking us back, and it's unfortunate because the fight is about inflation, the cost of living, the price of oil. All of this is affecting working people and poor people in this city, and we are not focused on that.
We've heard from a number of other local organizations as well about the decision. Planned Parenthood Toronto saying in a statement to us that they're absolutely devastated, grief-stricken, and enraged with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. And one of the city's LGBTQ groups saying it recognizes reproductive rights are a concern across many genders. It says that they stand in solidarity with all people who can become pregnant and strongly advocate for their right to determine when and how they choose to create their families. Now, we've also seen a number of people here in the city reaching out on social media to American women and offering a free place to stay here in Canada. Shannon.
Thanks, Meg. She's reporting for us from downtown Toronto tonight. Well, in other news, you saw earlier in the show, it's Pride weekend. The Dyke March got underway this afternoon. Tomorrow marks the return of the Pride Parade for the first time in a couple of years in person. 35,000 marchers are expected. Now, they may notice stepped up security. Pride's executive director told us there's no specific threat. They just want to make sure everyone can celebrate without fear.
We've had 2 years of no in-person Pride. During this time, if you were 14 or 15, we've had a lot of people come out that will be celebrating Pride for their first time. We've had a lot of queer refugees enter into Canada. We've had a lot of newcomers who came to Canada because they feel safe. And any threat to that could return them back to the closet. We have seniors that are coming out that are feeling safe. We need not to do anything. And as Pride Toronto, we have a responsibility to make sure that everyone, regardless of their race, their gender identity, their gender, the language that they speak, feels safe at our Pride events.
So all weekend long, there's the street fair on Church Street and dozens of Pride events happening. One of them, a rally to raise awareness on the global fight against AIDS, TB, and malaria.
One of the challenges of the pandemic is that it was taking up all the resources and attention from other preventable diseases, and we have seen a significant setback in the fight against AIDS, TB, and malaria for the first time in years because of the pandemic.
The event was attended by people who lived through the AIDS crisis here in Canada. Organizers and activists say they would like to see Canada pledge more to the global fight against these diseases. It was sure a hot and steamy one out there in Toronto today. A beautiful day, though, to be out taking in all the fun at Pride. A little warm if you were running the Pride 5K like one of our producers. Let's turn to Jordan Reed now. She's here with our first look at the forecast.
Well, thank you so much. If you love sunshine, if you love heat, well, today was a gorgeous day in the GTA, and that continues into the weekend with the chance of some scattered showers this Sunday. We've been needing it in the GTA. We haven't seen rain in 10 days, so the Flowers are going to absolutely love it. If you're heading to the BMO field for some soccer or to the Chicks concert at the Budweiser stage, well, what a great evening for it. Sitting pretty at 25 degrees for your temperatures. Heading into the overnight, just a little bit cooler for your Sunday. This is when we're going to see some showers in the region and lots of heat and humidity as well. Make sure you pack lots of water if you're heading out for some Sunday activities. Feeling like 33 degrees in Toronto, 35 in Kitchener. As I mentioned, rainfall on the horizon. This cold front sweeping into southern Ontario, expecting to hit in the afternoon, bringing lots of cloud coverage at the front of the system, as well as the potential for some thunderstorm energy, not severe in nature. If you're heading to the Pride Parade this Sunday, it's happening 2 to 6 p.m. Of course, we're going to see it all. Sunshine, rain, the potential for some lightning as well. So make sure you have an umbrella on hand. Your long-range forecast coming up.
Jordan. Well, to Brampton, where frontline workers are being celebrated tonight, honoring all of their hard work over the last couple of years during the pandemic. Dahlia Ashry takes us there.
Dozens of COVID heroes gathered at a park in Brampton earlier this afternoon.
To celebrate the frontline workers and first responders who have been there with us for the last 2.5 years during COVID.
Saturday's event was hosted by Peel Crime Stoppers and Boots on the Ground, an organization that offers peer support to first responders. Rob Lethan has been a firefighter for 30 years. He suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. And even though he was off work during COVID, he knows firsthand how difficult the job can get.
Over 30 years, I've been to thousands and thousands of calls. For me, it's like a cloud of calls, and there were 5 that were very problematic for me that would come back to haunt me. So that's what sort of led to my PTSD.
He now gives back and is a volunteer with Boots on the Ground. PTSD, substance abuse, work stress, and marital issues are just a few of the issues first responders face.
So far, since our November 2018 launch, we've received over 1,400 calls for assistance from first responders.
The CEO of Boots on the Ground says those calls increased during the pandemic.
What we don't know is the number of people who haven't called, so we want to raise awareness to let first responders know we're there for them.
Community members were there for support this afternoon, and so were therapy dogs like these, hoping to possibly make a difference. Organizers hope to raise over $20,000, and proceeds will go to Peel Crime Stoppers and programming within Boots on the Ground. They want others to know it's never too late to reach out for help.
If you are struggling and you reach out, that takes a lot of strength. You got to be a strong person to be able to reach out for help.
And there's help, there's hope, and there's people that care.
Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
A group came together to hold what organizers called a flash mob at Toronto City Hall as Ukrainians mark their country's Constitution Day and show support for Ukraine. Some in the crowd were Ukrainian newcomers who fled their homes during the war.
I just here in Canada for 1 week, so just my first week. To be honest, this is like unprecedented support I'm receiving from Canada itself. There are a lot of Ukrainians in different countries, and we want to show that we are all united, we are all together, we all our thoughts about Ukraine, what's happening right now in Ukraine, and we want to show to the entire world that Ukraine needs support
support.
The group performed a folk song that's become popular as artists around the world show support for Ukraine. The event was recorded and will be shared during a live stream from Kiev this Wednesday, with 20 countries expected to take part. We're heading into a short commercial break now, but stand by. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Toronto's newest city councillor, Rosemary Bryan, has resigned just hours after her appointment. Yesterday, Bryan was appointed to represent Etobicoke North, but several social media posts promoting hateful views towards the LGBTQ community were uncovered hours later. The posts were shared between 2015 and 2021. The mayor and several city councillors said they would not have voted for her appointment if they had seen the posts. They called on her to resign. Bryan did, with a written statement saying she did not want to make anyone in the city feel like they're not loved or part of the community. Well, it is Pride Month in Toronto, but LGBTQ refugees in the city still face major hurdles, made worse by the pandemic. Resettlement was at an all-time low these past 2 years, leaving many in limbo. Philip de Montigny has the story.
Vraiment, c'était pas facile.
Maimouna Diomande left the Ivory Coast to seek asylum in Toronto back in January 2020. She didn't speak English, wasn't ready for Canadian winters. Then came the pandemic and lockdowns. But these challenges paled in comparison to what the bisexual woman had endured in her home country.
J'ai été violée.
She was raped, her girlfriend stabbed to death.
J'ai pleuré tous les larmes de mon corps.
I had no tears left to cry, she said, and she's not the only one in limbo. João, a gay Brazilian, also fled homophobic slurs and threats. CBC News agreed to grant him confidentiality in order to protect his family back home.
All the time in Brazil, you think like someone is judging me, someone is looking at me, and sometimes someone can hurt me.
He was granted refugee status in July last year. A double-edged sword, he says.
My mom was diagnosed with lung cancer, and now I can't see her because I can't go back to my country.
He could visit her in a neighboring country, but has been waiting to get his travel documents sorted by Immigration Canada for nearly 10 months.
You kind of feel like, okay, my mom had to die for me to have my documents and see her.
Rainbow Railroad, which supports LGBTQ refugees, received 8,500 requests last year, most from Afghanistan, fleeing the Taliban regime. The Toronto organization helped around 200 relocate to other countries. Only 4 moved to Canada.
Now that travel restrictions are being lifted all around the world, we expect to see refugee resettlement not just resume, but there needs to be a dramatic effort to catch up.
He's asking Ottawa to make Rainbow Railroad a referring partner to help find and vet LGBTQ refugees, something Canada depends on the United Nations to do. Philippe de Montigny, CBC News, Toronto.
The one thing about him is he really loves it, and he really, there's a saying, the Sammy smile. He smiles all the time. He just has an amazing work ethic.
That's Mark Ralski, the proud owner of Striker, a gorgeous Toronto Samoyed. This week, the dog went back-to-back, winning the working group in the prestigious Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show for the 2nd year in a row. Ralski says that's like winning Wimbledon back-to-back in the dog world. So you may be wondering, will Striker go for a three-peat? Well, the 6-year-old is hanging up his collar to just be a dog for the next little while. Well deserved. What started out 8 years ago as a simple lemonade stand in Etobicoke has grown into a super sweet and successful fundraiser, all in support of special needs schools. Our cameras were there today for Lemonade for Love.
So my daughter, when she was born, we had some challenges, some health issues, and so we started the lemonade stand on the front yard. Then we partnered up with another woman in the neighborhood, and we just started growing it year after year.
So they're going to this incredible school, and it's basically aimed around just kids with special needs and giving them an education and a chance at a normal life.
We supply scholarship funds for children attending the school and some money to provide adaptive equipment for the kids.
You walk into the school and
I instantly knew that this was the place for us. They understood what it means to have a child with special needs.
It's been very successful today. Beautiful day, 1,000 or more people. It's been great.
It is take what you want, pay what you can, and our neighborhood is very generous, and the donations have been, we've raised $125,000 to date.
Cheers to them. Okay, more heat on the way Sunday, and you may need an umbrella if you're heading out to the Pride Parade. Hey, Jordan.
Well, thank you so much. We have another hot and humid day Sunday to ring out the last weekend of June, and those temperatures begin to drop heading into your work week. Temperatures get cooler, and it's all because of this cold front happening in southern Ontario Sunday afternoon into the evening, bringing with it the potential for some thunderstorms, not severe in nature. Heading into your Monday, increasing cloud coverage for the GTA as well. As I mentioned, temperatures begin to drop, but it's the winds that begin to grow. Heading into northeast of Ontario, Owen Sound potentially reaching 50 kilometers an hour for Monday afternoon, so a little bit gusty if you're out and about. Those temperatures 3 to 5 degrees below seasonal for Toronto, hitting the teens for Huntsville, very below seasonal for this time of year. Here is their 7-day forecast for Toronto. As you can see, it gets a little bit more cooler, but Friday, those temperatures heat up once again for Canada Day. And as you can see, there is some rain and lightning potential in the forecast for Canada's capital as well, feeling like 36. So make sure to have lots of water on hand. It's all because of this upper ridge bringing in that heat and humidity for Canada Day. We do have some potential showers in between. Here's a look for the work week. Wednesday, some showers for Cottage Country and some potential storms for Friday.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Have a good night. Well, that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to leave you now, though, back where we started on Church Street, where it is the big Pride weekend. The parade is back in person after 2 years of restrictions. 35,000 people are expected to march, making it potentially one of the biggest in Pride's history. Now, that's going to be along Bloor, Yonge, and Dundas. You can just expect a massive show of love, freedom, and of course, pride. We're wishing everyone here a safe and happy one.